Okay, fine. Okay. So we are shooting with 3 founders today. The first one's name is Ghazal. She's a very good friend of mine and a very amazing
Namrata, shut
human
up, she's
being.
here now.
Oh, hi!
We rolling? Yes. Oh. You're laughing at me? Again, me again. We keep talking about undertones here. I don't know what that means. So, what is an undertone?
मेरे hair ऐसे mess up हो गए क्या?
I don't know what you means.
Hana, can we get a dictionary so he can open and see the word?
So do I start with you or undertone?
अरे मुझे बोला 2 मिनट का ब्रेक चाहिए जबरदस्ती रोलिंग चालू है.
Do you want to take this also in BTS?
Ghazal Gupta is like gravity in human form. She will pull you in everything she does, be it her fitness content creation journey, be it her funny takes on the labubus, or her very anticipated brand, Unfiltered. It was born from this space of frustration of never finding the correct shade match, the wrong texture or wrong finish of foundation, and she took an actual step from problem to making it a business and solving for it.
She wanted to build a brand that's just not known for its makeup, but it's makeup that gets you.
And she's building this with her consumers as a community first brand and making a very beautiful co-creation journey as she begins.
So, welcome Ghazal Gupta on 6th episode of What's Next.
Hi Namrata, thank you so much for the lovely intro. It's so lovely to be here.
We are here to talk about Unfiltered and I'm super excited because I use a product today. Look at my skin. Oh my god.
I'm glad. I'm so flattered. Even I used it today.
And so it
I
had
use
to
it
be a
every
sign
day.
because my sample shade is NC. And I was like,
So that's the back end shade name.
That's what
You're
I'm
going to
saying.
be, I think you're going to be kind of moody.
Ghazal, tell us why foundation and why now?
Okay, so I'll start a little bit with the makeup category. We all know that the makeup category in India has boomed so much. Like there are wonderful brands, there are wonderful products, wonderful lip tints, blushes, every product that you can think of in makeup. But one thing that people were really not focusing on was base makeup. Like your actual face skin is like 90% of your face, right? But there is no brand that's actually focusing on creating shades for Indian skin tones. Most of them are creating like lip tints for Indian skin tones or blushes for Indian skin tones. Kajals is great for Indian skin tones, but nobody is creating skin tints, foundations, or anything that goes on the base of your face. So that's where like it kind of started from, and then from there it was more of a domino effect. So there were like thoughts after thoughts after thoughts, conversations after conversations. So I started talking about it on my Instagram that, you know, like I'm never able to find a shade for myself, and I'm more or less in the light to medium Indian skin tone, but I always feel like I have to mix 2 shades to like get to the right match, or like the undertone is off or something is always off. And a lot of people were relating to it. Like I don't think I've ever got as many story replies even on like a really pretty picture as much as I used to get on like these topics, because it was so relatable, because people were like, okay, why is nobody talking about this, you know? And that's where it started from. And then like I started engaging with these people a lot on a one-to-one basis as well. So emailers, even WhatsApp at some point, even Instagram DMs. So very one-to-one conversations. I understood what people are really feeling. So I got a lot of qualitative feedback from that. Then I created like a cohort of these people and started talking even more, like in groups and things like that. And then I created a close friend story on Instagram where I added this cohort of people, and then I started talking to them more on a deeper level, did polls, again, did a lot of one-to-one conversations, and then that's where the domino effect really started hitting in, that, okay, there needs to be something in this space that like really, really pioneers in it. So that's where it started from, and that's why I think like foundations is really, really important.
Okay, but is there like a story behind it? Do you like have a relationship with makeup from your childhood? Where does it
Yeah.
come from? Because obviously we all also noticed the gap, but none of us were passionate enough to go and solve for it, right?
Yeah, fair enough. So I have always been like a makeup person because of my mom. I used to steal like her eyebrow pencils when I was a kid. I used to steal her blushes and all. I still probably do steal some of her makeup. That's where it actually started from. But I was never like a base makeup, foundation, like a full face of makeup person. I would just put like little bit of tint, little bit of lip gloss, and that would be it. But then when I started facing acne personally, that's when I started feeling like, okay, I want to hide something. I want to like kind of conceal something. That's where it started from. And then I started using like foundations and more base makeup. And then I realized that I always have to mix 2 shades. So again, like that was like my personal reason why I started. Also because I create content. I started in fitness, then I went to fashion, then I went to makeup and beauty, and then that's where like the skincare beauty thing really stuck, and then makeup obviously stood out more than skincare for me.
Great. So, how big was every cohort?
Okay, so right now on my close friend story are 500 people, which is a mixture of the emailers, the WhatsApp group, the DMs, and all of that. And now all of those people clustered from different parts of the country are into one close
So
friend circle.
500 people without having a physical product in the market, just on an idea.
Yes.
That's
It was actually
wow.
way before I even said that I'm launching a cushion foundation or like any branding was out there. It was still very, very subtle. Like I would use the word unfiltered and all that, but nobody knew that I'm really, really starting something.
So you have 500 people giving you
Yes.
feedback on just a thought that you had.
Yes.
Oh my god! And I remember you keeping an event which I couldn't make it to,
Yes.
but I was dying with the FOMO. So how was that? How many people came? What happened? Tell us everything.
Okay, so we hosted like a shade matching workshop. Again, it was a very domino effect, just talking to people on my close friend story. And I was like, why don't we just like meet somewhere, have like a workshop and find a shade for ourselves? Because if it's such a big problem for all of us, why don't we just do this? And then like I did not expect the reaction that I got, but I feel like everybody on that close friends replied to me saying that, yes, I mean like why has nobody thought about this before? Why are we not doing something like this? And I was like, okay, fine, I really need to go deeper into this. And then we got like about 50 shades, we got color correctors, like a lot of ways to like kind of mix the shades and try to help people find their undertones and their shade matches. So it was me and one of my team members actually doing that at the workshop. We're not like professional makeup artists or anything, but we studied a lot about undertones, a lot about skin tones, and we had to like actually sit and find the right match for people. So we were sitting there with a palette, mixing shades, swatching it on people's jawlines, and like actually figuring out why the shade is working for them, why it's not working for them. And then we had them fill out like a pamphlet where we swatched that shade that finally worked for them, wrote down their undertones, names, everything, and then we put all of that data into Excel. So then that's how we figured out that, you know, there are X number of shades that are working really well, there are X shades that are not working at all, and there are X color correctors that people really need.
So you've gone and done like market research in the market that people will buy from.
Yeah, before I even had a product, because see, this was not like I didn't have anything in return to get out of this. Like there were no direct sales. There was just like 150 people who showed up out of those 500 people, and those 500 people were like across the country, right? They were not just Bombay. 150 people showed up from Bombay. Some of them even actually came down like from Pune and all, which was like
That's
crazy to me.
incredible.
I couldn't believe it when people were like, I've driven down from Pune, and I'm like, shit, like is this that important to you? Like that's when it just started like kind of feeling, like I just started feeling it in my heart that, oh my god, this is something that we really need to do together. And yeah, so like I mean that's where it began, that's how the workshop happened. And we kind of want to keep doing these workshops because right now I feel like we have good data and good feedback from people like in the Mumbai Maharashtra region, but there are so many different parts in the country, right? Like there's south, there's north, there's like Kolkata side and all of that. Like all of these regions will have different skin tones, different people, different feedback, different weathers, and like so many different factors, right? So we want to keep doing these workshops like in different parts of the country and like keep getting feedback.
Very cool. Extremely
Are you
cool.
still in touch with these 500 people?
Yes, I still keep posting like very regular stories. In fact, like even the packaging feedback I took from them, like do you like this shape or do you like this shape or do you like this color, do you like that color? Or like I showed them like 2 different formulas on my face and I was like, okay, do you like the dewy finish or do you like the skin-like finish or do you like the matte finish? Like things like that. So I've just kept them engaged throughout, kept getting feedback from them. And it's just like a very, very ongoing process. So even in the future, you know, if we do want to add more people to the close friends cohort, we will kind of keep adding. But it's a very exclusive thing because these are people that are very, very, very engaged. Like they're repetitive people who replied to emails, WhatsApps. Like they were very, very, very engaged throughout the process. I definitely want feedback from people who care about this, like who know the vision behind this, who know what has gone, you know, into building this. So yeah, like that's going to be the cohort of people that's going to like keep running.
And you're primarily in touch with them through like WhatsApp or Instagram stories and polls?
Yeah,
is what I'm
mainly
understanding.
Instagram because it's just relatively easier. WhatsApp gets a little difficult, so we do WhatsApp only somewhere around events or workshops.
Fair.
Because there are also a lot of logistical things that come into play or like a lot of last minute questions and things like that. Generally, otherwise it's emails and Instagram.
So I wanted to always learn where personally, this is going to be extremely personal to you, where do you draw the line between taking feedback from someone externally and having your own internal thoughts, and then how do you find a middle ground between the two?
Okay, so I think that's where the business decisions have to kind of come in play. Like for example, one thing that I really got from people is that please do free sampling of your foundations and like free shade sampling and things like that. So there are a lot of brands in the US and Europe who send like these shade sample kits, like they give it free with every Sephora order or something. But those they run in like lakhs of units in MOQs. You can't make them, you know, like for a few thousand units. Plus those blister packs you can't make in India at all. Like you have to get them imported. This tiny little blister packs that they come in. So I was just like kind of brainstorming that, okay, I understand that this is an issue that people want to try their shade before they buy it, like, or before they commit to a full size. But at the same time, it's not possible for me, like on a business level, to actually give out free samples. So the way I came up with this is that we sell like little bottles of the samples, like maybe 1 ml bottles in a kit. So largely, you may know that you'll fall in the light to medium, medium to deep category, but you don't know exactly which shade to pick, right? So we sell these kits and then you buy them, and once you do upgrade to the full size version, you get a full refund on that.
Oh, that's
so
so
essentially
cool.
it's free for you if you're buying the full size version.
Okay.
But at the same time, if you are not able to upgrade, or you don't like it, or you're not able to find your match or something, at least I'm able to cover my costs as a
I
business.
think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you also get to like just get your product out to people, even if you're not
Exactly.
buying the whole thing today, maybe like a month later. 'cause
Exactly.
Foundation runs out at some point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited. I want to know more about the cohort aspect. Are these guys who've been following you since you started your fitness social media career too?
I feel like it's people who've added along the way. There are people who've been there since that fitness era, and they've just been like, okay, why did you stop working out like that? Like I used to like really build muscle on a very extensive basis. Kind of stopped doing that. So there have been people like through the journey. It's been about like 3.5 years since I've been creating content, and I feel like my personality changes every 6 months. In some way or the other, I learn something new. I try to share something new. So there have been people who've kind of like joined, even people who've like gone in the middle and things like that.
So I'd like to kind of understand. I don't like just in our conversations before today, I've never seen you as a creator turning into a founder. I think you happen to be a founder and a creator at the same time.
Yeah.
But I want to know your views on this, because I think it's great that you have a community that you can like tap into, because you've built it over the past few years. But how are you looking at your business? Are you a creator turned into a founder? Are you just two things at the same time?
I think I'm both things at the same time. I don't want to call myself a creator who's turning into a founder, because I feel like all the back end that goes behind being a founder gets lost if you kind of call yourself an influencer first who turned into a founder. I think I've always been into business in some way or the other. Like I come from a family business background. I've worked with my father for a while. Before that, I was working in the beauty industry. So I've always been working. I've never done content full time. So I never, even before I started Unfiltered, I never called myself a full-time content creator, because I think people who are full-time content creators put like 100x the amount of work that I do. I feel like I have built a community of like a certain number of people who I know are very engaged into everything that I do or everything that I share, or like I take feedback from them. So for me, it's a great community, great distribution channel, but I would not say that I'm like a full-time creator turning into a founder.
Correct, because I also think a influencer turning into a founder is more on the marketing end of it. I've seen you as being more hands-on and more back-end. Obviously,
Yeah.
as a founder, you have to do everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a very important thing to make the difference, because today it's all just getting mixed together. And from the point of view of also talking about your product, you here today know more about the manufacturing and the licensing and all of the blister packs and importing. So I think today we can see that two different industries. One industry is the creative industry you're in, one is the beauty industry that you're in.
Yes.
But getting to that,
But I think, to kind of just button here, I feel like it's gonna overlap a lot in the future, like being a creator and being a founder, because we see so many founders that have started creating content, so many creators that are becoming founders. Those lines are going to blur. So many founders that are becoming celebrities. So those lines are all going to blur because of social media. Everyone has a social presence, and the more you create your personal brand, I think it just boils down to that. Whether you're a creator, founder, entrepreneur, celebrity, whatever you are, it just boils down to you creating your personal brand at the end of the day.
Now let's start breaking down your business.
Okay.
Right? I want to understand, how did you go about, so now you knew that your first product was foundation. How do you go about meeting manufacturers, finding them, selection criteria, and then shortlisting the final one?
Okay, so I think this is a very lengthy process. When I started, I was very naive to think that I'm going to launch in the next 3 months because I have everything figured out. But it was nothing like that. It's been about a year since I've been working on this. So last year, somewhere around like September-ish, I went to Korea. I went for a beauty expo. And at that time, I didn't know what product I want to build. I just knew I wanted to get into the beauty industry in some way. So whether it's skincare, whether it's makeup, or whatever it is, I just went with a very open mind. And I didn't know the right questions to ask to manufacturers. I didn't even know, like, how do you meet a manufacturer? Like, what do you say? What's the first thing that you say when you don't already have a company? But then that expo was huge, and like by the time maybe I got to like 1/4 of it, I figured out how do you talk to them, how do you kind of get data from them, or what are the important points to note down. That's where it started, and that's where I met a lot of manufacturers, closed on like 2 3 who I really wanted to like maintain my relationships with. And then I came to India, and then I was still thinking about this, and I was like, okay, I really want to do foundations. I met with a few Indian manufacturers as well. But the product that I wanted to build, the cushion foundation, it had never been done in India before at that point. So nobody had manufactured it in India. There were only a few international brands that had come in, which was also like I think much later than I started thinking about it. So I met with a few manufacturers, and most of them were like, we don't have like the machinery to make this product, because it like there's a lot that goes behind making a cushion foundation. You have to marry the formula into the packaging. So it was a little difficult to actually close in a manufacturer. But how it happened with me was that I had collaborated with their D2C brand like back in the day, maybe like 2 years ago. So I knew the founder a little bit. They're two founders. I knew one of the founders a little bit, like on a hi hello basis. And then I met them at Cosmoprof, which was in Mumbai and BKC. I had a conversation with them about what I want to build and all of that, and they're like, okay, fine, like come by at some point, we'll talk in depth. That's where it started, and then I did visit them, and turns out like they were also like far off family friends, because our family knew their family in some way. So it just like kind of snowballed like that, and they were able to like kind of get everything in place to start the process of making a product like this. So we went over like I don't even know 30 40 samples over a period of like now 7 8 months, and we kept and kept and kept on iterating the formula to make it possible in that packaging format. At one point we also had to change the packaging because it wasn't like fitting with the formula. So there was a lot of back and forth. And I would say, I think like if you don't know anything about the beauty industry, if you've never done it before, the best place to start is Expos, whether it's in India, whether it's in Korea. I think Korea is great if you have the resources to go, because their innovation is insane. Like you will actually learn so much that you would have possibly never have thought about those things.
So I want to know, how do you get the list of the beauty expos, and how do you shortlist which one is the right one? I'm assuming you require like a ticket which is pretty expensive.
No, it's actually a free entry.
It's free entries.
Yeah, most of the times you just have to pre-register and it's a free entry.
Okay.
Yes, and because like everything is out on the internet, if you just literally look up next beauty expo in Korea or next beauty expo in India, you'll actually find like a couple. And the most famous ones I would say are Cosmoprof, the K Beauty Expo in Korea that I went to. Like those two I think really helped me.
Okay, fair. And you said that, in 1/4 of the expo, you understood what are the important points to talk about with manufacturers. What are those important points?
Okay, so at that point, I was actually considering everything in the beauty industry. I wasn't just considering the cushion foundation. So I was asking them about ingredients. I understood like what are the ingredients that these people use in Korea that people in India are not using, or how do you like marry two factors? For example, if you want SPF in a makeup product, how do you actually marry those two? How do you sort of like remove white cast from sunscreen? So I was like kind of asking questions all over the place, but at least I knew how to have a conversation at that point. Like, what do I ask beyond, okay, what products do you have here? So that's where like I think ingredients is like a great place where I started, because I really wanted to understand what ingredients go into skincare. And because this product is also a skincare infused makeup product, that I think it just helped me in the long term.
Great. And you said you worked a lot on the formula iteration as well, right? For someone who probably didn't have a background of formulations, any kind of chemistry, right? What was that process like?
So I was working with an R&D lab, a third-party R&D lab, and they were the ones helping me with the formula. So I would tell them things like, okay, I want this factor and this factor and this factor. But generally how it happens is like if you increase one factor, something else goes off.
Yeah.
The right ratio is something that's really difficult to reach. So that's what I was working towards with the R&D lab. They were the ones who were specialized in the chemistry bit of it, and I was the one who was helping them sort of figure out the path towards the kind of product that I want. So I did understand a lot about cosmetology through them, as much as a non-science, non-cosmetic background person can understand. But I think all the expertise decisions were taken by them.
The product itself is just in your hand that much.
Yeah.
But there's a cushion, there's a formulation, there's the puff that you put the foundation with, there's a mirror, there's a plastic packaging. How many vendors do you have to look at? How many manufacturers do you have to look at when you put the whole product together?
Okay, this was actually really complicated for me to figure out because I was doing it for the first time too. I'll just show you the number of components this packaging has. So generally for makeup, it's like one tube or like one compact that comes, together from one manufacturer, and like that's it. But this had so many components, like I was going crazy with the supply chain. But basically, so there is this like outer packaging, then there is this andar ka refill, then there is this cushion sponge part from where the formula is dispensed, there is this puff, there is a mirror inside, and there is a sticker on the mirror that you can peel off, then there is a monocarton and an outer packaging that this will come into. So there are so many components, and plus this inner container has to be airtight, so it has a silicone ring which makes it airtight. When I first finalized this packaging and like I tested the formula in this and all of that, we crossed a lot of stability tests. It was great, but we realized that after a period of like 30-45 days, the formula was drying up. So we kept reiterating the formula. So I already got my packaging, from my packaging supplier, which was this outer container. Then we were trying to marry the formula into this packaging. We were reiterating the formula again and again. Ki why is it drying up so much? Why is it drying out so fast? Kept happening. We kept reiterating, but there was like no solution to it. Then I was like, okay, maybe what if it's a packaging issue? I went back to the packaging and like I kind of like dissected it. I opened it. I broke it open and all of that. And I figured out, okay, this is not airtight enough. And like that was like a big hit for me because my entire shipment of the packaging had arrived. So it would delay my timelines. It would be a huge hit on the margins. Like you can only imagine the effect that it would have on my entire supply chain. But I had to go back on it. So I went back to the manufacturer. They created an entirely new mold to make this into an airtight container, add a silicone ring and make it fit into this outer container. So there was like way too many vendors for all of these things, and there were way too many components to actually look for. So when you're actually just looking for a regular, like let's say a lip gloss packaging or a blush packaging, it's one thing, like the cap, the stopper, and like the tube that it comes in, for example. Here there were so many components, and like two of them required a different mold to be created. So it was like a lot of back and forth, and I feel like I learned so much about logistics, about like actually speaking to vendors, negotiating costs, all of those things throughout this entire process.
So the incorrect packaging is just money wasted now.
Yeah, for sure, because you can't sell cosmetics in a non-airtight container. If it's going to dry out for the consumer, they're not going to think it's a packaging issue, they're going to think it's a formula issue. Like as the founder, I thought it's a formula issue, but then I figured that it's a packaging issue, right? So you have to make sure that the packaging and the formula marries into each other, and you have to make sure that you get the right vendors for the two things.
Great. And so all these vendors supply to one factory, or is it that you have like a warehouse where all these different things come together and then you come up with the final product?
So the packaging was shipped to me, to my warehouse, and then I ship it to the person who's making the formula. And all of the assembly, with including the monocartons, including even the barcode stickers, happens at that manufacturing plant, and then they ship the final product to me.
Okay. And your evaluation for that one manufacturer, you said you had 2-3 that you liked in your Korean Expo, and you had a few in India that you were in discussions with. How did you evaluate? What are the factors that you looked at to finalize that one manufacturer at the end of it?
Okay, so I think there were a lot of like formula-based factors and a lot of like business-related factors. Korea, I loved the innovation that they had. They had like fantastic machinery, the hygiene in their factories, everything was amazing. Like it was what one would dream of. And I was actually okay with taking the cost as well, because like if you know, brands like Dew are doing it so well, like they're manufacturing in Korea, Indiawild, they're manufacturing in like Japan, Korea, and they're doing it so well, they're bringing like world-class products to the country. But what I realized is if I want to do makeup, that's not possible in a country like Korea, which is so far away, because I wanted to make shades for Indian skin tones, which means I would have to swatch them on Indian skin tones, send them over there, they would make them, maybe if there's an issue, it would come back to me, and this process would keep going on and on. And secondly, it was MOQs, because most of the factories in Korea will give you an MOQ of like 10,000 units. And for a singular skincare product or a singular makeup product, that's fine. But I wanted to have so many shades, like I'm launching with 12 shades. So to do 12 shades and 10,000 units per shade, that would mean like 1,20,000 units, which is not possible as a bootstrapped company that's starting out, right?
Absolutely.
So I think these were the two factors that I kind of ruled out Korea. And then when I was speaking to Indian manufacturers, it really boiled down to who can really help me make the cushion foundation, because it's a product that's not been done in India before. So it was just about like, are they willing to like get the machinery if required? Are they willing to go through the entire process? Because to put the formula in this is a very difficult, time consuming process which has to be learned by even the labor that's at your factory, right? So there's a lot of cost and time investment that would have to go from the manufacturer side. It can't be a white labeling thing because there is nothing to white label yet. So that's how I kind of boiled down to this one manufacturer. And I think like because there was some back end personal relation involved as well, they were really willing to like go forward with something like this.
And did he already have the machinery?
No, part of it, no.
So he invested because of you.
Yeah.
How did you
Part of
convince
it.
him in that? What was that
Because they
conversation
know that at some point when we do launch the cushion foundation in the market, there are going to be a lot of brands that come up and kind of want to do the same product. And every beauty product by law is required to write the manufacturer name at the back of the packaging.
Fair.
So the minute I'm in the market, everybody knows who the manufacturer is. So it's kind of like a win-win, right?
So right now also there are no other brands with this cushion foundation.
Right now, like since I've started working on these two now, there have been 2 international brands that have launched and there has been 1 Indian brand that has launched it.
Okay.
But other than that, no.
And they're manufacturing locally or Korea?
No, manufactured in Indonesia, one of them. And
Indonesia.
Yeah. 2 of them in Korea and 1 of them in Indonesia.
Ghazal, is there any way you can protect this manufacturing system you've created for your cushion foundation? No, so it just goes out into the public. Okay. So
But
then,
at least let them figure it out.
yeah, fair enough.
In beauty, actually, you can't really, it's very difficult to get something patented because my ingredient list is out there at the back of the packaging, right? And then
Some small play can be done and just
you can
manipulate
just
it.
take it to the lab and you can like kind of figure out how much percentage of what has gone in and maybe like tweak it by 1% and you're out of the patent. So it doesn't make sense to really patent anything in terms of like a cosmetic formula. Unless you've come up with like a really rare ingredient or like a really rare mix of ingredients. A lot of people do get it patented, but I think at this stage in a bootstrapped kind of situation, it doesn't make sense, especially for makeup, I would say.
So the 12 shades that you're going to launch with, I assume that a lot of the decisions that you made for those 12 shades were through your workshops.
Yeah.
Right? Can you just walk me through how you went about? Are you a person with a lot of data background?
Little bit, I would say, not very organized data,
Fair.
but I've been like very data driven in my decisions.
So you said that you had the workshop, you put in all the data into Excel. What was that process towards the final selection of those 12 shades? Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah. As I told you, I had like 50 shades in the workshop, more than 50, maybe like 53 shades or something. And we had about 5 color correctors. So all of these shades had a back-end number and a back-end name. You know how Namrata said that her shade is called N something.
NC20.
Yeah. So we had these back-end shade names for all of the shades. And we had the color correctors, like that was orange, peach, blue, etc., etc. So we actually like swatched the shade on a person's jaw and their neck. So if that particular shade matches them correctly, we just write that on the piece of paper that we later put into Excel. But if we were mixing 2 shades, we would kind of like just figure if this was in a 1:1 ratio or something like that, or maybe like 2:1 ratio, and write that down as well. And then we inputted all of that data into Excel. And then there was like couple of shades, there were a couple of shades that really stood out, that okay, a lot of Indian skin tones were in the olive category. So a lot of those olive undertoned shades, they really stood out. And so then I knew that these 4 to 5 shades I definitely have to take. Rest of them were more like, okay, I mixed these 2 shades and I mixed these 2 shades. So I kind of like, that was more of a judgment call that, okay, these were working really well and these were working really well, because 150 people is also, like, it sounds like a lot of people, but it's not enough people if you actually look at, 50 shades were swatched on 150 people. So it's not like, I'm not going to get a lot of like data that I can just directly pick out. But maybe like 4 to 5 shades I think I directly picked out because they were like the exact ones that were on the bottles. Some of them that were mixed either with correctors or 2-3 shades mixed together, those were more judgment calls.
So I'm very intrigued by the range of the shades. I'm wondering, you will not make the same quantity of all the shades, right? Like some are going to be a little bit more like fast moving, some will be on the extreme ends. So have you thought about how you're going to like manufacture certain shades more than the others?
Yeah, so generally when you actually want to tell a manufacturer that you want to start building foundations, they will tell you कि ये 6 शेड हैं और ये 6 शेड मार्केट में बहुत अच्छे चलते हैं, ये वाले लॉन्च कर दो. And that would happen with anybody, right? Like everybody wants their timelines to be like super quick. So that would happen. But I was just like, no, because this is based on historic data. How do I build my own data? How do I know what are the shades that are moving fast? So I am launching with the same quantity across all shades, and then we can figure out what are the shades that are moving, what are the shades that maybe people are not connecting with a lot. So then we kind of reiterate those, or we scratch those shades, or we create newer shades. So right now, to begin with, we have the same quantity across the entire catalog, and then like as and when we get data, we will figure it out.
That's very cool.
Because otherwise it would just be basing it on historic data of what other brands are performing like.
Yeah, and how you solving the problem of skin tones not
Exactly.
matching foundation shades. Also, one very interesting thing, Ghazal, I was not going to ask you this, but I cannot stop thinking about it. It was so funny to me how you noticed that shades from other brands are named after like food items, like
Yeah.
espresso. How is that? I really love that point. What is your thought on naming
Okay.
your products?
Yeah, so I think this also came from a very personal space, you know. So I would go to like a Tira or a Nykaa, swatch shades, and there would be shades like latte, sugar biscuit, truffle, and all of that. And I think I would just like mentally tilt towards like a custard or something, because in my head I feel like I'm a light to medium Indian skin tone. But when you look at it on an international spectrum, that's not the case. There is like so much on the lighter side. There's Caucasian skin, that's like a major part of the lighter skin tones, right? So a custard as a placeholder would never actually match me. I would have to go for something on the latte or like a slightly darker side. But mentally it would just like, I don't know, it was like a psychological thing that kept playing back. Like lighter skin tones were generally romanticized, like ivory glow or beige glow and things like that. But darker skin tones were called like espresso, truffle, just like reduced to food items that are generally like dark colored. And like nobody wants to be called an espresso or a truffle, and even after that the shade does not match. So like what is the point?
And again, to your point, and you pointed this out, I never realized a latte has different colors everywhere.
Latte depends on how much milk you're putting in,
Yeah,
right?
so-
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. And also same with like a numbering system. It's just psychologically you want to tilt to the like lower numbers. And I actually noticed this when I used to just spend time at Tira and Nykaa. Okay, I used to just look at people buying base makeup products. So they would come and they would be like, nahi, I think I'm 4. Even if the person is telling them, no, you're maybe 5 or something. No, I think I'm 4. And sometimes even the salesperson would kind of be like, no, you're 3, like you're 3.5 or something like that. Like salespeople will also try to sell the lighter number, because we just like tend to subconsciously associate that to like being better.
I mean, that's a big conversation which I don't want to have today,
yeah,
but
it's actually a very, very like, I think I can probably speak about this for 1 hour, just this topic. But I think that's where it kind of started from, and I was like, I want to neutralize this. Every shade should be neutral. It should be your personality. It should not try to hide what you really are. So of course we'll have the undertone under it. Like for example, I'm kind of hustling, so we will say neutral olive. But that's about it. Like you should know your undertone, but there's not going to be like a number associated to it. So the undertone is basically the hue of your skin. It's the color that never changes. So when you kind of go out in the sun, you generally tan, and the overtone of your skin might change. So right now I went to Greece and I feel like I've tanned like a shade or 2 darker, but my undertone still remains the same. Your undertone is generally neutral, warm, or cool. So undertones actually like come in a spectrum. There's like warm, neutral in the middle, and cool. And you're like a mix of it. You know, we can't kind of say that, okay, you're only warm, or you're only cool, or you're only neutral. And then there also comes into play olive overtones, which actually a lot of Indians are. That's kind of a fact that I learned at the workshop. A lot of Indians don't even know that they are olives, but they actually are olives. And I think probably like the weather conditions that we live in, like extreme sun, has to do something to do with that. But a lot of us are olives. So olive is an overtone. That's like the over texture, over color of your skin. And undertone is what's inside. So the undertone will never change. Your overtone, that's like the skin tone color, can tan or can go lighter depending on like the weather conditions that you're in or any other factors. So you can actually be a neutral warm, which would mean that on a spectrum of warm, neutral, cool, you're somewhere between neutral and warm. Or you could be a neutral cool, or you could be a neutral olive, or you could be a neutral warm or a warm olive. So it's kind of like a Venn diagram where everything is interconnected. You can't classify a person or kind of put them into one box ki हाँ तुम warm हो या फिर you're cool. You can't put them into like one specific box like that. It's a mixture of a lot of things because skin tones are like very, very diverse. It's very complex. So yeah, that's what an undertone.
So your makeup is based on what tone? Under or upper?
Both.
Oh, it's both.
Both. It has to be both. So the 12 shades, the overtones go from like the lighter skin tones to the darker skin tones, just so that we have a spectrum that we're working towards. And then they have undertones like neutral, neutral warm, neutral cool, neutral olive, warm olive, depending on what we kind of found at the workshop.
I've seen a lot of people maybe use the wrong shade because you can see how grey their skin looks. Like, how does that work? Like, what effect can a bad or incorrect foundation have on your skin?
Okay, so again, for example, a shade is labeled warm. It's a warm undertone shade. Let's say it's for my skin tone. Okay? The overtone remains the same right now. Skin tone is mine. But undertone is, let's say we have 3: warm, cool, and let's say neutral. So when I swatch the warm on my face, it's going to look orange or too yellow. When I swatch the cool on my face, it's going to look grey because I'm not a cool undertone. But when I swatch the neutral, it's kind of going to still balance out because I lie somewhere on that spectrum. And in fact, like at least from the data that I got from the workshop, a lot of Indians lie in that neutral warm or neutral olive or warm olive kind of category. I came across very few people who are like extremely on the cool end. There was still like neutral cool undertones or like let's say cool, neutral cool undertones. But there were very few people who were like cool undertones. That's something that you can find a lot in Caucasian skin.
And so one thing I want to discuss a little in depth: how the hell you shop for foundation online when you do not know how to do all of this? Like, how do you make it
really
possible?
complicated? So a lot of international brands and something that we have wanted, a lot of international brands and something that we want to do as well is have a quiz on the website. So we ask you a couple of very straightforward questions. For example, veins are a good place to start. They're not going to be a full and final answer because it's very hard to tell if you're an olive looking at your veins, but it's a good head start to know if you're like warm or neutral or cool. So that's like one of the questions to ask. Then you kind of display like pictures of all of the models that you have or all of the shades that you have and kind of ask someone, okay, which cohort do you think you belong in? Like, do you think you're on this spectrum or this spectrum or this spectrum? And then you double down deeper from there and then they kind of pick somebody from the pictures that looks as close to them as possible. Or there are also AI shade matching tools that come online, but I think it's going to take a while for them to be extremely accurate because every phone is going to take a different kind of a picture, which is going to affect the lighting, which is going to affect the color of your skin car depiction on that camera, right? So I think AI shade matching still has a long way to go, but at the same time, there are a lot of other things like that you can do online. But the best way to actually swatch a shade is to swatch it on your face. There's no like substitute for that, I think, which is why I feel like the trial kits is something, like really helpful for people because eventually it's going to be refundable to you when you like buy the full sized version.
So one other question I had, because of what you said, mostly when we go offline, they end up swatching stuff on our hand, like a lot of it, because you don't want to put stuff from a Sephora on your face. You do not know the effect of it. So isn't that inaccurate? Like, am I not buying a wrong shade?
No, for sure. Like, if you look at my hand and my face, it's very different colors. You can't swatch it on your hand, even on this side.
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah. So it's not the best way to go. I think you can still tell like thoda undertone wise. Like, for example, if you swatch it and it's looking too yellow, it'll probably look too yellow on your face also. But to match the right skin tone and the right undertone, it's always good to like swatch on this part, your cheek and your jaw. So generally, like I always take my cotton swabs and I swatch it with that if I'm going to like a Sephora or a Nykaa store. But otherwise it's not going to be accurate.
Okay, so can you walk me through your thought process about pricing?
Okay, I think the general norm with pricing in the beauty industry is like you take a 85, 90, 95% margin on your COGS. So I kind of did that with my COGS. On a CM2 level, I think it's still very difficult to say what my margin would be because that's something that will kind of keep rolling for the next 6 months or year to help me figure out, what it's going to be at that point. Right now, it's too soon for me to say ki itna margin hona chahiye on your final cost. But I would say on a COGS level, it should be somewhere around 85-90%, and that's somewhere that I work.
Is that a margin or a markup?
Margin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question on this. Were there any costs that you are accounted for and not accounted for in this journey that you figured through the way?
Yeah.
So like,
a lot. So initially, when I was putting down my costs in an Excel sheet, I'm gonna need this much money, etc. I felt like I was so naive. Like now that I look back, I feel like I was so naive because there were so many costs that I did not think about, like really small things. You know, when you just kind of put down, okay, logistical cost XYZ, but those logistical cost may there are so many tiny things that you don't account for. So yeah, I feel like that's something that you have to do and get your hands dirty and figure out. That's not something that you can probably learn from a book even or from somebody who's explaining to you how it works. It's definitely a great start to understand from people who've already done it. Like I have some people who help me understand costs on different levels, and I come from a family business background. So I mean, I do have some level of understanding, but I think like until you actually get your hands dirty, you're not going to know how much cost you require. But I feel like for me, I'm a very frugal founder. Like coming from a very Marwari background, it's always been like, you know, you have to make money. At the end of the day, it's a dhanda, and you have to invest how much you think is going to kind of be fruitful in the future. So it's always like kind of been like that in my head.
We respect that a lot, and it's difficult to be frugal. Like
Yeah,
you have to
it
find
is.
very crafty ways to save money.
Exactly.
Can you give us an example, if you have anything on the top of your head, of what you did to kind of? And I think your cohort is one example
Yeah,
of
I
that.
think the marketing is a great example because I am leveraging the distribution channel that I already have that was made for free essentially. I'm leveraging that to a large extent, and like that's where I'm kind of, you know, figuring out ways to cut expenses in a lot of different things. Like I was just talking to AVP off camera right now about warehousing, that I want to cut my cost and I'm ready to make my house or my current office into a warehouse if that's what it takes. So frugal in a lot of senses, like where I can smartly cut off expenses or where I can save money at least for the time being, at least to like give me a better runway for the next 3 to 6 months, even if it's obviously going to be an inevitable cost in the future. But yeah, I think like frugal in those senses.
Now, for your supply chain, since you're going to be having to move it across a lot of different partners and figure out like your distribution, is there any way your product can get damaged or formulations can change because of temperatures in this whole process from production to reaching the actual customer?
Okay, so ideally, when we are testing formulas in the packaging, it goes through a stability process. So it's put into a stability chamber where they actually test if the product can last through certain temperatures or if it's leaking through the packaging or if it's drying out, etc. etc. So once it crosses those stability tests is when we launch in the market. So all of the stability tests are done. Ideally, there should not be a problem. But at the same time, like your logistics partner has to be very careful with the entire supply chain. So when the production is coming in from the factory to my warehouse, it has to be packaged really well, and then after that when it's going to the consumer in single units, last mile also has to be kind of taken care of really well by your logistics partners. So I think it's a just building relationship that you have to have with different logistic partners. At the same time, you have to know like how these things work or how probably logistics of large shipments versus last mile works, so that you at least kind of know what you're doing. But in terms of formula and packaging, those things are already tackled before you get into the market, because that's a really crucial step.
And I'm not expecting a definite answer from you, but I'm sure you've thought about it. When you do get feedback when your product goes live, it's going to take some time to incorporate it, right? So, yeah, what does that look like in terms of time and money both?
So we did the workshop in like May and June-ish, and then it's taken us like 3 months after that to keep reiterating the formula and kind of figure out the shades. Before that, we were working on the formula and like kind of trying to put the formula into the packaging, and all of those things were kind of going on the back end. But the final shades and the final formula took about 3.5 4 months even after the workshop. So now when we do get feedback again, it's going to take even longer, because that's when a product is already out in the market. So if, for example, the product right now has a very skin-like finish, not too dewy, not too matte, but like people are like, okay, a lot of us have like extremely oily skin and we want a mattifying product. I would not be able to make the same product mattifying in like, let's say, the next batch, but that gives me feedback to launch a new iteration in a matte finish kind of a format.
Interesting. There's one problem I think all of us in this room are facing is hiring. How has that been for you? What has your experience been? Because I think you've been hiring for the past 3 months.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So hiring, it was a little difficult, especially because I'm a solo founder. So having to do everything plus hiring is so time consuming. Nobody talks about it. It is so time consuming, and it's like I feel like there's also a lot of self doubt. Like when you're close to hiring someone, like am I hiring the right person? Am I giving them the right salary, or am I giving them what they are expecting, or like are they going to work with me at this stage when I really don't have anything, until like probably a couple of months or a year after launch. So it was a difficult process to like constantly explain my vision to people over and over again. But I think my community again really helped with that, because a lot of people came through. They already understood the vision because they were part of it. A lot of people like kind of emailed, DM'd that they want to work with me and all of that. And there was like this one email that I got which really stood out. And then she ended up being my first hire, and she's part of like my founder's office team now.
Oh my god, very cool. So
Yes.
Ahana, our intern, had also emailed us. So she's here because of
Oh,
being
nice.
proactive. Yeah.
So how are you going to get marketing and frugality to come together?
I think that starts with my community, leveraging what I've already built online as a distribution channel. So I feel like I get like really insane marketing ideas at like 2, 3 in the night. As someone who sleeps at 10 p.m., I get random ideas while I'm sleeping. I literally wake up and I write them down. And like that's how I feel like crazy ideas have come into my head to kind of build on marketing in a very organic way without spending too much. So one of the things that we did was like start our Instagram page, but make it private. So there was like 1 follower, 1 post, 1 following, which was all me, of course. And on my page, I would just like start tagging that page, kind of teasing it, using the product and teasing it in a very subtle way. So I got a lot of follow requests. I got a lot of DMs also saying that, am I the only one who's not accepted into this account? Like, why am I not getting accepted? And there were like angry DMs also, Ghazal, accept me on this account. And so like I feel like that's how we kind of just built some hype. And then I made the account public, and then it organically had like X number of followers, because it just created that sort of hype very, very organically, created a sense of FOMO, that why is a brand page private.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Ghazal, one important and lovely thing which I've noticed and I really, really like is she puts up her brand everywhere. Like it's on her clothes. She has a bag branded with it. It's our mic is branded, guys. And I think it's so important to just have
Your
this.
t-shirts are branded.
Oh yes, our t-shirts are branded too. So the idea of just having this visibility everywhere, even if there's no product, from the content space, and because you have expertise in content, how are you trying to use it to kind of bring your product forward without having the product in the frame every
I
time?
think that was my way of foreshadowing in the beginning before I kind of revealed the brand name or I revealed the product. I would use this color, Pantone 4985C for everyone. But I use this color like everywhere. I used it on clothing. Everywhere that I would see this color, I would buy it. Whether or not I like the silhouette of that clothing, but I would buy it just so I can use it somewhere. I got these patches embroidered with all of our shade names. Then I made this bag, as you said. I've actually done a lot of small things like that to like integrate the brand in a very lifestyle sense. I feel like in the long term, most beauty brands or like something that you really love is going to become part of your lifestyle. It's going to be beyond that lipstick for you. Like, for example, Rhode is a universe. Refi is a universe. And I want that to happen with Unfiltered. Like there are so many people who tell me that they want those t-shirts that I wear with kinda hustling, kinda thriving written on them. Or they want this bag. Like so many people have said that, where do you get this bag? Like we want this bag. So it's just creating that FOMO, creating a brand presence without saying unfiltered, or just saying a brand name everywhere. But like getting people connected to the color, to the kind of tone of voice that we're using. Like just small aspects that will kind of become into an unfiltered universe that people can immerse themselves into.
So you think you're launching those t-shirts and hoodies too?
Maybe. Maybe.
So tell us, how are you going to launch?
We're launching online first to begin with, because I feel like a foundation product, I want to get as many people to kind of engage directly with me without having middlemen I want to get first party data, engage with those people, get like real time feedback from them. So to begin with, it's going to be an e-com website.
Okay. And now for our final and favorite question, what's next for Unfiltered and you?
I think what's next for Unfiltered is constantly doing these workshops over and over again, having people be part of our community and actually feel like this brand is being built by them and not just for them. I feel like I wanted to become a household name, a dinner table conversation, a girls' night out conversation, a girls' bathroom conversation. Just kind of be everywhere where people feel like they actually feel heard, they actually feel seen, they actually feel like their feedback is taken and products and everything else around the brand is made by kind of keeping them at the center.
Ghazal, thank you so much. I think both of us have learned so much today.
Specifically, the difference between undertone and overtone. Thank you so much.
But
No, it was lovely being here. You guys are wonderful hosts, and Namrata is like one of my favorite people in the world. Oh my god. Okay.
shop unfiltered.